The snap of my mobile phone's closing contrasts with the ambient chatter and noise, audible even in the hallway outside the library. It's the first day of summer holidays, a time that had perpetually seemed so far away, yet it's now not even here, but also made painfully obvious by the students, or lack thereof, left in the school. Most students here have returned at home to spend the holidays with relatives by now. The few that are left are mostly chatting between themselves, usually, about what they intended to do in the coming weeks. It makes me feel like the odd one out for taking advantage of the school library being open for those first several days of the holiday. Ostensibly, it's for the students to drop off any books they borrowed and have yet to return, and for those who will have their parents pick them up to pass the time until they get whisked away. Thanks to the recent lengthy phone call from my parents, which had been so rudely woken me from my sleeping on a beanbag at the back of the library, I'm now in the latter category, sliding my phone back into my pocket. At time remembering it to set it to silent, I go back to quiet, wholly placid room. It's a nostalgic sight, just when Lily first led me to the library. The orange tint sunset bathes the room in its light while Anako sits on a beanbag silently reading, and Yuko fusses just barely visible behind the counter. Anako especially has been noticeably more quiet than usual since yesterday's happenings, but I can't really blame her. It was just me that depended on the person. It wasn't just me that depended on that person after all. I quietly walked back to the beanbag near her, where I'd sat before, being doubly careful not to make any unnecessary noise. The soft puff it gives as the bag takes my weight, my Hanako's eyes flick towards me, but only for a second. I get the feeling that Hanako has been quiet on the partly out of sadness following Willie's departure. Rather, she seemed more thoughtful and measured than I expected, perhaps due to her desire of working out how to deal with Willie's leaving, rather than just being depressed over it. It makes me feel a little proud of her. Hey, Hanako. Yeah? Still going ahead with your idea of traveling? She gives a determined nod. We'll be starting in a day or two. Naomi decided to come with me too. Wow, quick start. Where are you two headed first? I think we're going to start by going north, then loop down to the southward. So, Hokkaido's going to be first? She gives another nod, more attentive than lost. The significance of that place is not lost on either of us. Do you know how you're going to handle the traveling expenses and accommodations? Yeah, I worked everything out. I think it should be okay. Naomi said she has her side worked out too. You know that if you need anything you can call, right? I gave you my number before. Any time of the day is fine. She gives a smile, which in itself feels like a small personal victory. I know. Thanks, Isao. Maybe Lily was right. Although I may offer Anako any help I can possibly give, I feel as if she doesn't need it. She really has grown. Naoko's plans for her holiday are in sharp contrast to my simple following of my parents' suggestions to stay with them. Holidays hadn't always made me feel less excited than most, so maybe this is just a return to the status quo. Before my heart attack, I had always lived so aimlessly that holidays weren't all that much difficult from my everyday life anyway. After school, I'd wandered around a bit in the city, often hanging out with some friends before making my way home to eat dinner with usually one of my parents, but rarely both. Their work schedules didn't leave much of time to be home, and going there starting from school, straight from school would just have meant I'd end up feeling bored. I was Bennett through and through. Since coming to Yamaku though, He feels I've fundamentally changed as a person. The phone calls with my parents erased any traces of doubt I might have held on that in any case. Well, before I had exercised a fairly normal level of independence for a teenager. That being not a whole lot, my parents were more than pleased to hear my newfound ability to taking care of myself. Laundry, cooking for myself, cleaning, all in addition to other general chores that come from living without parents around. Just the little menial things that I've had to pick up, but with relative ease. When I think about it, I have always depended on them, even if they hadn't been at home all the time. To say I never depended on anyone after moving to Yamaku dormitories would be far from the truth, though. Excuse me. The two of us look at the awkward fidgeting figure in front of us. Some things never change. It's getting close to closing time, so, alright. I'd forgotten that the library closed early during the holidays. Hanako and I both get up and dust ourselves off, placing our books back on the shelves behind us. The fact that our taste in reading material have a fair amount of overlap is useful at times. With a bow to Yuko to apologize for taking so much time, Hanako takes her leave off us. See you tomorrow, Sal. Bye. With that, she walks off the largely wooden aging doors that held the entrance to the library. She's a quiet person, isn't she? I suppose I should be surprised at the staff member sharing personal opinions like this, but after knowing Yuko for a while, that's a lot to be expected. Our relationship is more personal, rather than with her acting as an authority figure. Yeah, I think that's just how she is. She has a lot more confidence in herself these days, though. Yeah, she does. I don't know her as well as you do, but I think I agree. It's nice to see her talking to people here. She never used to do that before. Yeah. Hey, Yuko. You know how about Lily's leaving, right? She told me herself a few days ago. It must be hard leaving everyone behind like she is. She quickly looks back to me after she says this, probably remembering that I went to her for advice on the relationship between Lily and I before. Are you going to be okay? That's a difficult question. It's something I'd rather not think about for now, though, given more pressing issues. Something seems kind of off about the whole deal, don't you think? Yuko appears to think for a while. Absentmindly scrunching her face up in a variety of creative ways as she does so. I don't think I really know her well enough to make that kind of judgment. I'm sorry I can't be more help. Nah, it's fine. I'm just sort of thinking aloud. Well, I give a deep sigh and scratch my head in frustration. There's just so much stuff happening at once I have no control over. It feels like I'm being swamped. I think everyone goes through times like this. What's important is to concentrate on what you can do, rather than what we can't do. At least, that's how I see it. If I didn't like that, I don't think I'd be able to manage my life as it is. Or think that, yeah. She says it with a smile and a light tone, but her words are far from any kind of a joke. Being pulled between two jobs as she is, just to hopefully make enough money not to only live, but also for university, must be exhausting. Perhaps that's why coming from her, it feels like it's more meaning than if he had come from most others. I guess you've got a point there. Thank you for your advice again, Yuko. She bows deeply and smiles again before making her way back to the counter where she spends so much of her time. There are tiny wings in the cardboard crane in my fingers. They're also just visible in the dim light in my room. Just a little of the moonlight being able to peek through the curtains and around the edges. I lay still in my dark bed for a long time, idly looking up at the little origami bird. It feels like a lot has changed since Lily folded this, but at the same time, it feels very little has changed. Compared to everyone else, I'm back to square one. I may have found a newfound idea of where I want to go in my life, but that's hardly something that affects me now. Hanako changed. I know that much. If anything, she just makes me feel like I've got no excuse to be like this, considering her previous situation. Lily, though. I turned the bird in my fingers another way, looking at it from yet another angle. When I first met her, she seemed aloof and perhaps somewhat distant. Her actions were almost carefully measured and precise, and her carefully maintained composure always gave the appearance of unearning confidence and serenity. In time she became less formal, just a bit, but enough. It felt good to see her lowering her inhibitions around me, and opening up even just a little of her own accord. It felt as if I was seeing her real self slowly becoming more vibrant and visible. Now though, I'm beginning to have doubts. Perhaps that's to be expected. After what effectively the two of us breaking up, they don't feel now strange though, rather like an old book being found and dusted off. I soon realized after meeting Lily, that she saw me and as she did Hinako, someone who needed help and care at first. I simply thought we'd be as friends, helping each other through our limited time together in school. But then I began to treasure our moments together more and more, from our quiet walks to our talking over lunch. The good sides of her personality became even more obvious and even more likable. The absence caused by Lily's trip to Scotland to visit her long-distant family and sick aunt only makes me realize how much I liked just being around her, and I thought she had felt a similar way. For her, though, maybe she wasn't everything to our relationship. Even after she returned to Japan, that just meant she lost her family once again after meeting them for such a brief time. She lived so much of her life without her family around, not to mention with Akira working long hours. That's hell a little choice, but to be like that. I thought her sense of independence to be good and admirable trait. It is a stark difference to my reliance on my parents before my heart attack, as reluctant as I may have been to admit it. However, it also meant that she never let people get too close to her. She lost her family likely due to her blindness, went to a different school from anybody she knew because of it, and worked all the harder to make sure she didn't end up a burden on her sister and those around her. And now, Akira's going to Inverness, just like the family thought she'd lost. She never told me of her plans, as conflicted as she was about them. Lily didn't want to be a burden of it on anyone, including me. I'm an idiot. I never questioned it. I never tried to be there or asked where she needed me to. I just set my life up and expected it to stay like that way forever, with the two of us having a nice long relationship where we pushed forward towards our future together. A small pit of frustration and anger at myself wells up in my chest. I just let everything happen, never even trying to help Lily. Just her being there was enough. I thought I could keep going if that were true. But it could never have been enough. It feels a childlike dependence on somebody, without any attempt to understand or help their situation. Thanks to that, I lost Lily. I lost the one person I loved most because I wasn't there for her when she needed it. With an increasingly angry feeling washing over me, I turned over the set of the crane back on the desk next to my clock, a place where it has lived since the day when she folded it for me. Since that day, when she herself said that my burdens needn't be my own, the obnoxious bright red numerals on my alarm clock shine through the darkness of the room onto my tired eyes. 10 o'clock. Evening. Curfew will be soon. I wonder. Like Kira mentioned, they'd be leaving this evening. I have no idea exactly where the flight is, but this means there's a chance, however small, that they might not have already left. Adrenaline starts to move through my body as I sit up on my bed, my eyes suddenly wide with possibility. There's no guarantee they haven't left. Indeed, it's likely they already have, but there's also a chance they haven't, however small it may be. Just this once. Just as I should have before. I stand up and rush over to my cabinet, throwing on some clothes as fast as I can, and sliding them on in a quick succession. Each second that goes by is a second that I can't regain, a second that may mean the difference between catching them and losing them forever. Even if I fail, I have to try. I can't leave everything behind without even trying to stop her, without just this once being there for her. The last of my clothing slipped on, I hastily grabbed the phone at my desk. Luckily, the number of the local taxi company is still in the call history. A gruff and enthusiastic voice announced the name of the company while I pace around the room. It takes some effort to slow down my voice to keep it clear over the phone. This chilly night air sweeps against me as I open the dormitory door. Nevertheless, I keep my brisk speedily as I half jog, half run out to the school gates. It may not be curfew just yet, but it's precariously close. If there were a guard around, they'd no doubt have some questions for me, but it looks like I managed to come out just before they arrive, or they're around the corner. My pace picks up as I make my way through the school gardens, their nighttime allure all but lost when I begin to run the school gate. The lamps of the courtyard, dim as they are, provide just enough illumination to light the way and prevent me from tripping over. The building themselves is taking on a rustic, almost antique looking on edge when I glance at them. Looking back, it seems strange that there was what once appeared so dark and gloomy to me. Now they just look to be somewhat anachronistic school building, the same as any other bar their age. Leaving the gate behind me, I pull up to stop just before the taxi, parked just as Kira had parked. Its gaudy, brightly lit sign looked out of place in the quiet country backdrop. I impatiently squeezed myself through the door, giving the driver the address for where the two should hopefully be staying. By the time the taxi pulls over, it tripped at mentally casual speed. It's well and truly deep in the night. The house is truly enormous, its sheer size much larger than I expected, and ominously still. Fearing the worst, I asked the driver just to stay in case my efforts are for naught. The single press on the fancy intercom system outside the gate produces a short electronic melody and otherwise silent road. It's not long before a somewhat deep, gruff voice can be heard from it. "This is how I can reach your residence. Please state your name and why you're bothering us this late." I pressed on despite inwardly wincing at the reasonable annoyance audible in the voice. It's Hisao Kai. I was hoping to meet Lily or Akira, if they're still here. Surprisingly, I managed to summon quite some energy to my voice, enough to make the other side of the intercom silent. A few good seconds passed just before I pressed the button again, and asked what's going on. The light turns on outside the front door. I strained my eyes and tried to make out who's coming through, but as he comes past a large parked car with a fishing rod sticking out of the back, his identity becomes clear. His face typical, placid and emotionless, as he saunters up to the gate. He's still childlike in his mannerisms despite his demeanor. With the press of a few buttons from behind the fence, the gate slowly opens. "Hey Sal, what are you doing here?" I think this is the most emotion I've ever heard from his voice. Not that it would be hard to reach that mark. Oh, jeez. Akira told me that she, as Noli, would be staying here before they left for the flight. I need to talk to Lily one last time. Are they still here? The look on the face, say everything. I failed. I was too late. The one time I was actually needed to act quickly and... Actually, it's possible. What is it? He's a bit taken back by my fervor, but I can't help it at this point. They left not long ago, only a few minutes before you arrived, in fact. If you go straight to the airport, you might be able to, Sal. Able to. Sal? I dart back towards the waiting taxi, grabbing what little money is left in my pocket as I go. Thanks, Hideki. With that, I take my seat and in short order bark out my destination. My chest beats wildly as I tear down the street, my body twisting in this wet the way that the slip between the pedestrians walking back and forth beside me. The road's already blocked by a taxi and other cars dropped off passengers and picking up others in the time they had to wait. We ended up having to stop almost a block away. But that's in the past now. What matters is reaching one. One foot hits the ground, the other quickly falling without the slightest thought, as if my legs have taken on a life of their own, and all my mind can do is concentrate on the view ahead of me. Just one glimpse of the straight, long hair of hers, the long, yellow hair that was the same color as the wheat that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the end, I depended on Lily just like Kanako did. Even after we started going out, it still doesn't feel like she really ever let her depend on me. Except for one moment. The one moment where we held each other tightly on that bright yellow field. At that time, she must have appeared losing me just as she did everyone else. That's why, just this once, the night air wraps around me, draining every last remnant of warmth out of my body, to the extent that it feels more like midwinter than summer night. My fingers, my hands, my feet, they're all increasingly cold. The sound of passing crowds is reduced to no more than a background hum, while a sound of my shoes hitting the pavement echoing loudly, every step surging towards the person I have to catch. Forced by my chest tightening and the response to the cold of the night, I rest my arm over it to try and settle it down. When the airport comes into view, though, I realize the feeling as one I felt before. Not now. Of all the times for this, please, not now. I take a gulp and soldier on the progress, pushing my body as far as I will go. Blood pours off at me as I hurtle forward and my shoulders hitting someone's side. My mind suddenly flooding with emotion and memories. I continue on without an apology. I have to keep moving now. If I stop, I'm not sure if I can begin again. Even though I could do it all for naught, if I'm not in time. I hit another person, then another, offering little resistance, getting bounced about. My feet feel numb, my arms are losing all feeling, my chest forced me to hunch over awkwardly, tightening even more. The afternoon is in the snow. The time when I left life irreversibly changed. Images of Inako, that damn letter flash over and over in my mind. The first love I had lost, thanks to my condition. I can't let that happen again. I don't want that to happen to me anymore. I just need to see her one last time. There! The silver, yellow, and white comes into view some distance down the road. Her figure silhouetted by the light emanating from the airport entrance. Lily! Lily! Lily, stop, please, Lily! Come on, I know you're hearing far from beyond Norm. God. My view suddenly spins out of control and ends up on the ground. My body half-heartedly sprawled after hitting someone and stumbled over. Before I can assess the damage, unbelievable pain ignites in my body. All my thoughts are blanked as I curl up and practically clutch at my chest. Hey, are you okay? That was really a bad fall. This pain. I can't. Any sharp knock can do it in the end. Any exertion I thought I could do overcome my limits this once. Something's wrong with him. What's the matter? voice of those gathering around me are gradually replaced by the loud ringing in my ears. By now, I'm unable to move my head. My eyes turn upward to see the moving of the lips. Even as I clutch my chest, I can't feel my fingers anymore, nor my feet. It feels like my entire body is shutting down, starting from my extremities. With one last effort, I turn my head down the road towards the airport entrance. That's casting its light over me. Lily's there behind the crowd. Her head is tilted, but only just slightly. I can feel my vision dimmed as I try to yell out, but nothing emerges from my mouth despite my best efforts. Slowly but surely, my vision begins to black out the scene before me. So, this is how it ends. I failed. I was so close, so very close. But at the very last moment, my condition seized my chance at a new life and dragged me back. Now, I'm going to die, sprawled out just meters from an airport, with a crowd of babbling people surrounding me, with Lily leaving for Scotland just a little distance ahead. Lily. The last word extinguishes the last of my energy. The words fall into a deep and inescapable blackness as every muscle in my body shuts down. I'm sorry, Lily. I was too late.